नहीं हो सकता, you cannot minimize.
आपका चालू है?
नहीं होगा. Okay, very good morning to all. I, Dr. Amar Patnaik, welcome all delegates, students, researchers, faculty members of Day 2 of 5 days workshop on IPR and need of collaborative research to deal with pandemic like COVID-19, organized by MNIT and MNIT Innovation Incubation Center, MIC, Institution Innovation Council, IIC, MNIT, in association with IP Curate Lab and Aryabharat Foundation from 13th to 17th July 2020. In view of the rapid technological innovation and the social and economic challenges, the function, value, and the impact of the patent system need to be constantly adjusted and implemented so that the optimal balance between the right holder, new entrants to the market, and the public at a large is achieved. Further, in order to support a comprehensive and complex technological development, it is essential to strengthen public R&D activities, including those in universities, and promote better collaboration between the private and the public sectors. It is important to set up a policy which provides a balance by offering both incentives and stimulate R&D and ensure a competitive environment for pioneers, for downstream researchers, and for producers at the end of the value added join. Keeping the relevance and importance of this, today's topic of panel discussion is on protecting technical innovation using patents and patent information for research and development. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome and introduce you all to our eminent panelists and the guest. First of all, I like to introduce Dr. Manav Das. Welcome to the program. Dr. Das has studied MS at Ohio State University and PhD from the same university, law at Brandeis School of Law at the University of Louisville. Manav focuses his practice on preparing and prosecuting patents involving computer technologies, as well as client counseling and opinion work, with a PhD in mathematics and over 2 decades of experience working in academia, law firms, and in-house legal departments. In addition to his patent prosecution practice, Manav has experience providing litigation support on patent, trademark, copyright, trade secret matters. He is also co-inventor of 3 patents. Manav has worked on a wide range of technologies, including IoT, big data analysis, natural language processing, light system, networking, storage, memory. So huge series of expertise he has. He has experience counseling small business and startups, while also preparing and prosecuting patent applications for leading global software companies. Now I like to introduce another expert. I welcome to Dr. Ashwani Sharma. Welcome to the program, sir. Dr. Sharma is presently associated as a Pro-Chancellor at Vijaybhoomi University, Mumbai. He is associated with National Education Alliance for Technology, NIET, is a prerogative of Ministry of Human Research, Government of India. Prior to this, he has associated with NIELIT as a Director General at National Institute of Electronics and Information Technology, and was heading the organization in the field of capacity building, skill development, running formal and non-formal courses, R&D projects, and execution of various IT projects. Now I welcome another panelist, Dr. Mohit Gambhir. He is the main person behind this workshop or conference. Dr. Gambhir is working as a Innovation Director, MHRD Innovation Cell, AICT, Government of India. MHRD Innovation Cell is committed to encourage, inspire, and nurture young students by exposing them to new ideas and processing, resulting in innovative activity in their formative years through network of innovation clubs in higher education institutes. Dr. Gambhir is involved in multi initiatives driven by MHRD Innovation Cell (MIC), such as Singapore India Hackathon 18 and 19, Smart India Hackathons, establishment of IIC, ARIIA ranking, NISP, and has been active member of many other various high-level committees. He has also taken charge of Government of India's flagship program, Smart India Hackathon 2020, as a member secretary of Executive Committee. Dr. Gambhir belongs to the first breed of techno-legal professionals out of India. By qualification, he is PhD in Computer Engineering and LLB in IPR. He has extensive work experience in IP space, such as patent portfolio generation, advising inventors, cooperations in IP activities, tech transfer, technology scrutiny, technology landscapes, patent licensing and due diligence activities. Now I introduce our next panelist, Dr. Satish Kumar. I welcome you, sir. Dr. Satish Kumar is working as an Assistant Director, MSME, Government of India, created more than 800 successful entrepreneurs in Tamil Nadu as well as Pondicherry, created nearly 50 cluster groups, guiding engineering, textiles, and many ancillary cluster groups. Prior to joining MSME, he was in DRDO, Ministry of Defense, worked in DRDO from 1984 to 2002. In his period, worked in a underwater weapon development projects, worked in light and heavyweight design and developed instrumentation, data acquisitions, and so on. He has received also 2 awards. So thank you, sir, to all our panel members, panelists for today's program. Now I hand over the dais to moderator for today's panel discussion, Dr. Puneet Sharma. He is also one of the biggest person as a moderator in this field, as an anchor, DD National and technical education experts. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Patnaik, and thank you MIIC, MNIT Jaipur, Ayurveda Foundation, IP Curate Lab, and all associates for bringing all us together and discuss wonderful sessions which are really needful and fruitful. So to begin with, Professor Manav Das, patent protect the interest of inventors by ensuring that inventor can control the commercial use of any invention. In the light of upcoming economies, especially post-COVID-19, where do you see Indian innovations in global perspective? Dr. Das.
Thank you, Sharma ji, and thank you, Professor Patnaik. I think this is a very timely question. I think this is a time when we have all seen that India is very capable of dealing with serious situations, even given its vast population and given its many, restrictions on resources. So I think this is a very commendable time for India to display its technological prowess and to be confident that it is actually on the world stage as a major global player. I also think that, India has, of course, as we all know, a vast amount of intellectual property. But having, grown up in India, I also know that we tend to think of patents and patenting and intellectual property as something of a very, very esoteric nature. When I was growing up, I used to think that the only patents that you could get were, the light bulbs that Edison invented, or, telegraph that was invented by Marconi, which was not really invented by Marconi, but, you get the idea, right? You always think of the biggest inventions and you think that's what is patentable. And I think that is not true. I think that, we live in a world right now where technology is incremental. And India has a large role to play in contributing to that technology. I think that, from my personal perspective, I work with a lot of global corporations. to machine learning and artificial intelligence, it really is India's role to take the lead and bring forth more of its invention. So I think I have been reading some of the reports on COVID-19 and how some of the Indian pharmaceutical industries are coming up with vaccinations, and I think that is really laudable. One of my very good friends actually is a part of this endeavor with the Arogya Setu app and so forth. I think something that many Western countries have not been able to do. India has really led the world and shown that it can take very, very precise and directed action. But going back to my point about patenting, I think a lot of intellectual property goes waste in India just because people don't really think in terms of filing for patents. And I think it is very important for Indian inventors to think, to reorient their thinking in terms of filing patents, because if you don't file, then somebody else will. And the way it works is, the world today is in a first to file basis. So if you are not filing, somebody else will file for that same exact idea and have priority and be called the inventor, and you will actually lose out on that particular invention, and you may even end up paying licenses for that invention. So, I think it is very, very, very important, and I think the educational institutions in India have a role to play in that, and so I'm really happy that NIT Jaipur has taken this role and this lead in this aspect, because this is something I've been a proponent for some time, that Indian education industries have the Indian students are immensely talented, and when they are in these academic surroundings with whether it's undergraduate institutions or postgraduate or postdoc institutions, patenting has never been an emphasis. It's mostly research and writing and submitting research work, but I think patenting should take an equal place, and Indian institutions should come up with some ideas to reward scientists for filing patents as well.
If you do not protect your rights, somebody else will take away the cherry. So this is what,
Yes.
Professor Das, you want to say. And thank you for, acknowledging that the way we have handled ourselves and the whole medical system through techno-medical systems or development of any pharmaceutical solutions for to fight or protect ourselves during this COVID-19 situation. And as well, you rightly said that we have been pioneer in software technologies. A few days back, I was reading some statement that Indians should not be allowed to work in companies which are there in US. So one of the owners suggested that if we do not allow them, they will develop their own companies in India. So this is what the power of Indian youth is. So rightly said that our youths are generating lots of creative solutions, but we never look forward for patenting them, and ultimately we lose the commercial interest. Coming to Mohit Gambhir, you, under your leadership, MIC has initiated so many prerogatives, including Smart India Hackathon or ranking of institutions in terms of innovation. In what way the attempts have been made through MIC to bring out innovations for today as well as tomorrow? Dr. Gambhir.
Thank you so much, Puneet. And again, as Manav pointed out, it's IP and patenting, and the world is moving toward it. And I believe in India, though we were a little late in boarding that bus, and I generally say that it's like a train has been moved on the last bogie and the very last pillar we are trying to catch. But I still believe that we somehow managed to board the train, and now it's all up to us that how much speed internally in the train we can have so that we can cross all bogies and move to maybe first S1 or S2 coach. Now, coming to that point, now how I would like, why I construed this example in a way, because like we established IICs, we established institutions innovation council across the country, and there are 1600s of them now, and they are growing every day. And to highlight what we are trying to do from them is educate our faculty members, student fraternity of higher educational institutions in various aspects such as innovation, entrepreneurship, IPR, tech transfer, design thinking, and cognitive skill development. So this is something which we are doing as a top-up, which generally our course curriculum or the books primarily we used to teach in a standard process is not catering to. And on the different side, this is the need of an hour. Our graduates, they should be aware of that what is a design thinking process. See, we need to introspect. Overall, we were rather, or if we look as in a majority side, we are very poor in design thinking, very, very poor. And we should accept it, that where we fail, the outcome, the products which we are developing, they are far from those, aesthetics, far from those quality parameters. The company or the corporate who picks it up, they move at a rapid rate. And now the traction has started happening through our innovation cell, which we have tried. You also mentioned innovation ranking. So I would like to highlight over here, that is one of its kind ranking, whereby we have started and we have started giving due emphasis on number of IP as in patents as in utility patents. So people need to understand the kind of, or the nature of IP as well, which has more commercialization value, which is going to fetch much more licensing fee. It's not about filing X or filing Y. It's about filing what really matters. It's not about wasting the money on filing everything. It's all about filing what is matter, getting it granting, and move on. So we are trying to channelize that kind of ecosystem through our innovation cell, so that slowly and gradually the traction comes into the country, and maybe another 3, 4, 5 years, people, they will start looking towards IP as in they look towards their babies too. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you, Dr. Gambhir. I'm sure you have also filed several patents. You have contributed a lot. Could you please?
Yep, I do have 8 of them as of now. And see, I must tell, or maybe I do not have any issues telling in front of people. Earlier, I used to have a same thought process, which Manav mentioned, finances. Whether I should go for the IP or I should work on something which I'm working on and let everybody know what I'm working on to. So again, friends, I need to mention, first of all, file your IP. Get, or at least have a date for the application. You have 1 year time, work on and then move on. So 8 of them are there, Puneetji, right now, and couple of them are in development. So I believe by December, it will cross somewhere 12, a dozen of them.
That's great.
Thank you so much.
I'm sure this is not going to stop on 12.
No, now it will not. No, it will not.
So that you can become an example for others, that if you can do, many others, thousands can also do.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So now coming to Dr. Ashwani, you have been in various government departments. You have led NIELIT the way you scaled up the business of NIELIT. That is phenomenal. I've been in several R&D organizations as well. So this is quite clear that the need of patent is essential. I mean, it is quite essential. But then how patents support inventions, my first question, and then how patent information help in promotion of R&D activities? Dr. Sharma.
Namaste. Puneet, I will take forward what Mohit and Dr. Manav said, that it is a time for India to now take a lead. Although we are the last comer, maybe we are boarded at the last, but this is the right time, especially after the COVID, where now everybody is trying to discard the Chinese product. So I think that's the right time where we can do wonders in the world. Even if you see yesterday, the Google is planning to invest more than 75,000 crore rupees in India. So I think it is opening up a new platform for all of us. But I think we need to understand that how patent came into existence. That's the most important before I jump to your question, because if you see long back, maybe 100 years, in the old Greek city, there was there was a city called Cyprus. And that time the cooks who were preparing the food, and if they were preparing a good dish, they were given a right to continue for a year. So basically it was becoming a story that everybody was trying to take out the copyrights for that and trying to make his own recipe. So based on that, basically the concept of patent started taking a place, where everybody started thinking that this is the time we should save our innovations, our thought process, our invention, like that. And if you remember, that as Dr. Manav said, which is very correct, that the first patent which was granted for an invention that was for the potash which is being used in fertilizer, that was in the year 1790 to a Philippine scientist. And if you see the telephone which we have been talking, basically it was invented by many scientists, and three of them who were basically key inventor but couldn't get the brand name in the market because they couldn't go for a patent filing. They were, I think, if I remember correctly, they were scientists Anthony, maybe John Phillips, and Ellis Gray, who basically did work on telephone. But finally, what happened is the Alexander Graham Bell, who could do a filing of the patent. So what I'm trying to say, it is now the time for us to run and start taking action for filing the patent. Now, it is a well-known fact that patents help us in innovation, in promoting innovations in many ways. First of all, the moment you file a patent, you basically disclose your technical information in the document which you submit to the government or may the agencies who are going to take you forward for the patent rights. So what happens is there is a you facilitate knowledge diffusion, which is very important. Then what is happening is you are trying to create ideas for innovations. That is second thing which is happening, because you concentrate on developments of technology and other firms, you divert them to basically target on production, maybe distribution, or maybe marketing of the commercialization. Then basically there is an increase in return on innovation or indirectly on the investment. Because when a patent or an inventor, small business knows, there is a good chance that they will get a return of time or maybe efforts or the money they have invested in developing technology. In some, we can say they start living from their work. That's the main thing which comes up. And then most important is that when a new technology comes into market, the society as a whole stands to benefits. Because what is happening directly, everybody start thinking into a new process because there is a thought process of going ahead of someone else. So we start going for that. Then basically the moment revenue gets generated because of the patent being protected, it is basically giving funds for more R&D, more further going for a competition. And then basically the patent effectively turns on inventors' know-how into a commercially tradable assets. Then the most important thing which is happening is holding a patent also make a small business more attractive to investors, which is mainly for the startups, because that's the biggest challenge the new startups in India are basically finding. Now, the patent information can be mapped to policymakers also, because this is again giving a advantage to policymakers like Mohit, Gambhir, or anybody who is in the business of giving the patents, that they basically also learn, because it's a learning process, it is an ongoing process. And then a patent can help stop unsurplus third parties from writing on the efforts of the investor. This is what is happening. Now, what you ask is how patent help in promoting R&D or the information which you get on patent. The most important is that there is a technological life cycle for any R&D activity, which we need to understand, which basically starts with the basic R&D, then the applied R&D, then the demonstration, then the market development, and the commercial diffusion. Now, patent plays an important role in the entire technology life cycle. It is sought at R&D stage of the technology life cycle. Now, the most thing is that patent helps to protect R&D duplication. That is very important. Otherwise, you can see after the invention of the internet, you can get every day new PhD holder in the market, because the topics are available. You cut, paste, make changes. So basically, this is what patent is trying to do. They are trying to protect the R&D duplication, and basically they are trying to affect the R&D investment also, because based on the returns which you get from the patents, from the commercialization of the patents, you again reinvest on the R&D activities. And in the last, I will say that without patents, there will not be any innovation by the private agents, by the scientists, by the inventors, and the entire welfare association with an innovation will be lost.
Puneet ji, you need to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. I mean, might be that you are thinking that your invention or innovation is not, as of now, it's unable to get scaled up. But might be sometime subsequently, there are possibilities to scale it up in terms of commercial development. So one should essentially go for patenting and then protect it, and might be that patented information is useful subsequently for any R&D organization. Coming to now Satish ji, because lot many innovations which are developed by students, they are taking shape in the form of startup. So in what way your department or government is doing hand holding to take the startup journey ahead? Satish ji.
Thank you, Puneet ji. I'm audible. Thank you, Puneet ji. So there are so many incentives are available for the startup, subject to condition that they are recognized by the government, they are registered with the government. So any startup who is qualifying, there's a definition of the DPIT for the startup. If they are qualifying these three criteria, so they can avail this startup certificate and avail these benefits. So number one, the age of the startup. So age of the startup should not be more than 10 years from the date of its incorporation. Second thing is in any of the financial year, their turnover should not exceed 100 CR from the date of its incorporation. So third condition is that startup should bring some kind of innovation, some kind of new product and processes in the market. So if they are fulfilling these criteria, satisfying these three conditions, they can avail this startup certificate. What they have to do, this is completely online process. So they can visit the DPIT's website, that is startupindia.gov.in, and there they can register themselves for the startup certificate. Once they get the startup certificate, there are many incentives and schemes available that they can take the benefit of those schemes. For example, we have a DPIT scheme, that is SIP scheme of the DPIT, where they have empaneled more than 800 IP attorneys and IP professionals. These IP professionals provide all kind of professional services regarding their filing their patent, drafting, and all kind of up to the grant level. They provide all kind of professional services to these startups, and they don't charge any cost to these startups. So all that cost, all their claims is reimbursed to them by the DPIT under SIP schemes. So for any startup who is having this startup certificate, they can visit a startup website and see any nearby IP facilitator empaneled by the DPIT, and by visiting the office or through email or phone, they can contact and take the services of these IP's attorneys. Secondly, in the Indian Patent Office also incentivize, suppose for the all kind of IP filing, there's an 80% rebate for the startups. So if you are registered with the Government of India with your startup certificate, suppose for example, if you are filing your patent, so originally it is 8,000 if you are filing your patent application in online mode. If you are having the startup certificate, so there's an 80% rebate on government fees. So you require to pay only 1,600 rupees. So that similarly with this trademark and design registration. So for the startup, these kind of incentives are available in terms of IP filing. Further, there are further more incentives, like there is a rebate in taxation. So initially 3 years, you don't require to pay tax to the government. There is a labor free, there is no labor inspection for initially for the 3 years for the startup. Then there is a exemption in the long-term capital gain for the startups. Then there is a procurement policy. So if the government is procuring, government gives preferences to the startup when they are, some kind of goods and services procure through the startup. So there are so many incentives available. Further, after in 2016, we got our national IPR policy, and various state governments have also come up with such kind of incentives. Suppose government of Gujarat having their IP policy, where any startup and even MSMEs can avail there's a financial support up to rupees 15 lakh. If you are having some kind of patent is granted to you, so you can avail financial support up to 15 lakh from the government of Gujarat. Similarly, the many state government like government of Haryana is also, so many state governments are also giving incentives to this startup. Further, so some kind of incubation facilities required by the startup. So many incubation centers are also set up under the various schemes of the government of India. Like we have the Atal Incubation Centers, now TIFAC, BIRAC, so many state government and central government are setting up these incubation centers to promote startup culture in India. So that's so many schemes are available.
Right. So there are numerous opportunities, and I'm sure all these information are available on your website.
Yeah, that is available on website. So you have to required to visit the subject to which schemes you are availing. If you are availing the SIP scheme or startup, so that is available on Startup India website. If you are availing that state government schemes, so you have to visit that state government website. So there are so many. Depends on what kind of scheme you are availing. The first thing you have to register with the DPIT for the startup certificate if you are satisfying those 3 criteria of the startup definition as defined by the DPIT.
Right. Thank you, Satish ji. Now coming to Dr. Manav, during this journey of exploration of innovation, usually this is a tendency that we do it on trial and error mode, right? So similarly, when it comes to patenting, people also adopt the same methodology or a strategy that they try to attempt it by their own, going for patent. And most of the times it may take time, it may get refused, or it may, you may leave in between because the process is exhaustive, right? So in what way, I mean, from your point of view, how important it is to take help of attorney for filing patent?
Thank you, Puneet ji. I think that's an excellent question. So as an attorney, I could be biased in what I say, but I will try to be unbiased, and I'll speak because I'm also a former, I wouldn't say former, but I'm also a mathematician, and I've spent a long, many years in academia. So I understand the scientist mentality well. I think that many people confuse applying for patents with writing a research paper. So when we write a research paper, we publish it and we think that we have achieved what we want to achieve. Unfortunately, with patents, that is actually just the beginning of what we want to achieve. So with a patent, it is a negative right. It does not really give you the right to do anything. It gives you the right to stop others from doing things. And so the real value of a patent lies in being able to enforce it. And, and to be able to properly enforce a patent, which means that somebody else is trying to do what you have patented, and you want to stop them from doing that because you really want them to give you not just the credit, but also, maybe get a license from you, right? And give you your proper priority and acknowledge that you are the one who's provided this benefit to society. So that's really what the patent system sets up. And so in order to do that, I think it is key and it is essential that you engage a patent attorney, because a patent attorney will be able to understand not just your invention, but will be able to understand your invention from a perspective of inventions as a whole. The patent attorney will be able to understand the current situation in law. Law is not a static thing. It is changing all the time. It changes as, every single day. I have to keep up with court decisions that are coming out, and decisions from the US Patent Office that are coming out, which are continuously defining and refining the area of patent law. And I have to continually, as I draft patents and draft claims, I have to keep that in mind, and I have to continually ensure that I'm providing the best service to my clients by keeping up with the current law. And I think this is, I'm just speaking about US law, but, Indian law changes, European law changes. There are all sorts of privacy requirements that keep coming out. Software is always a difficult thing to patent anyways. And so, your attorney actually is able to understand the different landscapes and understand the technology and provide you the best possible protection that you can get. That's one aspect. The other aspect is that there are also timing issues that we always don't understand as naive I will not use the word naive, but we are naive, right, as inventors, right? And we are really looking to file that patent. But I think what happens oftentimes is that we don't understand the nature of the international landscape of patenting. We don't understand maybe sometimes that, if you file, for example, a patent under the PCT, you actually get 30 months before you decide where all, which countries and jurisdictions you want to file your patent. So, and why is that important? Because, once you scale up and you're beginning to manufacture and you're beginning to sell, well, where do you want your patent protection? You want to protect it in the countries where you want to sell your technology, the countries where you want to manufacture your technology, and so on and so forth. So I think, oftentimes we think of patenting as this one-dimensional act of just filing the application in a patent office, but it is a multi-dimensional aspect. And, we really need to speak to an attorney who will be able to engage and advise us on all those different aspects. And the other thing is that, as we see, now in the US, oftentimes you can have a patent which has been granted, and you could be, you could have a patent for 10 years. And then when you go to enforce that patent in court, your opponent actually goes to the patent office and says, well, this patent never should have been granted. And a lot of patents are actually invalidated just based on these kinds of post-grant sort of proceedings. I'm not really aware of, Mohit will probably enlighten us more about the post-grant proceedings in India, but, in the United States, it is very important that we kind of stay abreast of these post-grant proceedings and understand what kinds of patents are getting invalidated, because, you end up spending a lot of money. There's a lot of investment that you put in to get a patent. And then, 10 years later, 5 years later, you suddenly realize that you cannot enforce it because now you don't have a patent, right? So these are all things that one has to think of. And this is, just some of the reasons why you need to engage a good attorney to be able to advise you on what's the best course of action. And, and going back to the basics, other than all this strategy and all these timing issues, I think at the very basic level, some inventions are more patentable than others. Of course, you can always file a patent, but is it something that, what is the value of the patent? What is the longevity of this patent, in terms of technology, what is known, what is not known? These are all issues that, these are not things that we can actually just search and find for ourselves. I think it's a patent attorney is trained to actually think about these things and provide you counsel on these things.
So there are several, areas where we seek guidance from the experts, like taxation is one part, marketing might be, an innovator is not champion of all the fields. It is good to be a jack of all and master of few, but when it comes to protecting your commercial interest, it is always better to seek help, advice, an attorney, which will help you throughout this journey. And might be several aspects are there which you may not be thinking as of now. Subsequently, they may arise, but it is always better to seek help from an attorney. Is this what you mean to say, Dr. Das?
Absolutely. I think, as I mentioned, in my transition from being a researcher to a lawyer, this is sort of what I realized myself, that, there were so many different aspects of law that I did not understand, and especially intellectual property law. It's a very, very multifaceted, multi-dimensional aspect. And, to be able to spend, patents are not inexpensive. It requires a lot of, it requires a good bit of money to actually file for a patent and then get a patent granted. And so you do want the best counsel, and you want someone who actually understands not just what the patent technology is or how to get it filed or how to even get it granted, but someone who understands what the significance of that patent would be in the international landscape, and which countries would be the better places to seek that protection, and whether the patent would be defensible who your competitors are, for instance, and I think Mohit will be able to speak more to this, but, we perform landscape analysis, for example, right? And we provide guidance on, this is the technology space, here's what your competitors are doing, and here's where your white space is, this is where you can actually innovate, right? So I think these are all, there's also the notion of, you come up with an idea, and this has happened with many of my inventors personally, that, the inventor comes in with a certain invention, and then we speak to them and we say, well, this is known, this is known, this is known, and we have a sort of a brainstorming session, and then we figure out the novelty that we can go for, which is not known, right? And so these are things that, you could blindly file for an application, for a patent application, and not know. Whereas if you actually speak to an experienced attorney, they will be able to guide you better.
Thank you, Dr. Das. Now coming to Ashwani, which tool is preferred for protecting innovation? And can we go for a combination of multiple tools? You need to unmute, Dr. Ashwani. You need to unmute. Yeah.
There are many tools or methods which are basically existing in a system through which we can protect our ideas, innovations, or inventions. But once we are talking about the innovation part, there are some limitations on that. For example, there is a concept of trademark, where basically we identify a product by a brand. Let's say Tata product, let's say Godrej product, let's say Philips product. Then there is a copyright, where we put a @ and then some symbol like that. Then there are unfair competition laws. I think Dr. Manav, being the lawyer background, can throw a better light on that. Then they are basically trade secrets. And then comes the patents. So I think for the innovation and for invention purpose, generally we are going for either the patent option or the secrets option. Now it all depends upon the situation or the circumstances which make us to take a decision whether to go for a patent or to go for a secrecy. For example, many business use trade secrets to protect their know-how, but there are downsides also in doing this. Because what is happening is, if you are keeping the secret with you close to your chest, and in the meantime, with the same activity, somebody files a patent, you lose your whole work, because then patent basically will survive. From the company's point of view, it may be risky, because once information is disclosed, legitimately or legally, it will no longer be protected. So you have to take care from that point of view. It is also known that secrecy may allow, there is no time limit with the secrecy, but generally it does not continue for a long time, because it is linked with the employee, with the staff, with the management, so many things. But at least patent gives you a right of 20 years. There's a second advantage which you are carrying, because once you file a patent, you are comfortable for next 20 years. Then basically it is protecting your product, process, and design. Now, what is more important is that patents are necessary to foster innovation. There is no doubt on that part, because they generate dead weight loss for the economy. That is an important activity which we basically have to look into. Then what is happening is they provide incentive for innovations. This is what I said in the last question which you asked, that definitely once you are going for a patent, once you are disclosing the information, the technical information, it is promoting others also to do something, and there is a scope for the R&D. Then basically it is a tool to measure a innovation in an industry also. So that is there. But yes, of course, it is possible that we can use both the combination of patent and secrecy also, depending upon what are the circumstances, or we can use more tools clubbed together. For example, where we find that this is very important, where anybody competitor can take a lead, we prefer to go for a patent. But where we feel that if it is being disclosed, it will be more troublesome for us, we go for secrecy. So that is there. But I think there are 6-7 determinants which basically take a decision whether to go for a patent or for a secrecy. One of that is the strength of the intellectual property law, because that provides a tool to you whether to go for a you can say patent or to go for a secrecy option. Then it is also a fact that secrecy is preferred if the innovation can be quite sure, if the innovator is sure that he or she is the sole inventor. Because once you know you are the only inventor, then secrecy is the right way. Then patents are preferred over secrecy as they foster technology transfer by both creating and resolving an IPR conflict. That is again there. Now, second determinant which basically is being used is the degree of innovation competition, which means whether you are trying to compete a large number of firms with similar innovation capacities. So, if you are competing for the same product, you go for you go for a patent, and if you feel that you are the only sole designer or the person or the industry going to go for innovation, then you go for a secrecy. Similarly, the level of innovation, whether it is an innovation for a small product or for a major innovation, because see, there is a cost involved with the patenting, which is not there with the secrecy. So if it is a small innovation, which generally the startups are facing problem, there is a cost and they take care of that part. Then what is more important is the type of innovation, whether it is for a product or for a process. Because if it is a patenting is also preferred over secrecy, if it is a threat of imitation, that is by reverse engineering is high. Wherever you feel you can do a reverse engineering, you can go to the start of the activity, you prefer to go for a patent. But in other case, you go for a secrecy. So I mean, there are different options where you can do combination. And what is more important is that sometimes you have to look into the other activities, that is the size of the company, size of the investor, size of the innovator in terms of money and everything, where we take a call whether to go for a patent, secrecy, or for both the options.
So one has to assess the his invention or innovation in what way it should be protected. Then only, I mean, after deciding that, one should opt for different out of the different options available. Now, coming back to Dr. Gambhir, to you, many activities have been conducted by you and your department to nurture, to bring out student innovations. Could you please mention some of the cases that out of these innovations, if they have opted for IPR to take it further?
Yep. Again, thank you so much, Puneet, for bringing that up, because I am a firm believer that if something like if we have input processing, then output has to be there. And driving so much of innovative programs down the line past 1.5 years, I don't foresee if we are not coming or delivering up with some tangible output. Just to highlight from our hackathons and other innovative programs, so we have filed so far 8 patents, our students rather, or HEI community, which I'm trying to say, and this is within last 1 year. Apart from it, 121 students and or the teams or faculty members, they have reflected their interest that they are moving towards filing the patent, or they are in the process. Then on the other hand, for trademark and copyrights, if I would like to say, then we have around 20 trademarks, just as the namesakes, and then we have around 13 copyrights. That was filed in primarily past 1.5 years. Before this, if I would, so though number might look very small, frankly, but if you look around, 2 years ago, it was 0, right? And the last year we had this, and coming year, I believe it will be in 3 digits. And going by this pace, I'm pretty sure people will come to a pace and they will understand what to file, when to file, how to file, and the benefits out of it. And again, I will have no qualms in mentioning that still we are of the ages that if my neighbor's kid is working in computer sciences domain and drawing out 10L CDC, why my kid is not? And I'm sure something similar, and I wish, must happen with IP. If my neighbor has got a patent and granted and licensed it for some X amount, why can't I do it? I believe that traction is going to happen. If that happens in India, people would be, coming up with a lot of things. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Mohit, for driving, bringing out such kind of drives. And I'm sure, as you said, that people inspire each other, might be out of competitive feeling or might be out of companion feeling. But ultimately, I mean, that culture should be developed. That is the purpose of conducting all such activities. So in a way, your department or government has, I mean, they are able to get a success to develop that kind of culture. But until government promote, these startups in the form of small scale industries or like that, So coming back to Satish ji, in what way MSMEs are being handholded or supported for innovations?
Well, there is very, this very challenging area for the MSME when you're talking about IP. We thought that MSME engaged with some kind of indigenous technologies. So bringing this new kind of technology, IP is a very important factor which works for the MSME. So here at Ministry of MSME, we administered a scheme that is a building awareness on intellectual property rights for MSME. That is scheme is administered by the Government of India. So this scheme is a very detailed scheme. So there are various components which are supporting MSME. Like first level, we conduct lots of awareness, sensitization, seminar, workshop kind of thing for MSME. That was conducted throughout the year, and last 10 years we are conducted thousands of the program for the MSME to aware them how these IP tools they can use as their business strategy and develop their business further. So this is the first component. At the second level, we have set up IP facilitation center across the country. At present, we have set around 90 IP facilitation centers. Recently, we have also converted, we have MSME Development Institute at a state level. So we have also converted our MSME Development Institute in the states into IP facilitation centers. So any MSME looking for any kind of IP facility, any kind of IP services, they can visit our IPFCs as well as our MSME Development Institutes. So these IP facilitation centers are supposed to provide all kind of IP related professional services, from IP consultation to any kind of prior search, writing the patent of the entity of the patentee, writing the claims, drafting the application, and some kind of objection is there. They are responding to the on the behalf of applicant. All kind of legal services, all kind of consultancy services, professional services are available at these IP facilitation centers. So we provide some kind of grants to the industrial association, state council of science and technologies, and various university colleges for setting up these IP facilitation centers. So financial support of rupees 1 crore for a period of 5 years is available from the Government of India side for setting up such IP facilitation center. So that is the one thing. Another thing, we have financial support for the MSME also. If any MSME is having this MSME certificate, as I mentioned, the startup, you require to register with the government. So for the MSME also, you have to register with the government. So suppose if you want to avail this MSME certificate, it's completely online process. You require to visit our website, that is udyogadhar.gov.in. Once you visit our website, you will get a form which you have to fill, and after filling the form, you get your MSME certificate. As you heard in the Atmanirbhar Bharat, the Government of India has now revised its MSME definition also. So in the revised definition, we from the 1st July 2020, we have come up with the revised definition of MSME. Under definition, we have come up with a very easy and dual criteria of the MSME for the defining MSME. That is based on your investment in plant and machinery and turnover. If you are having your investment plant and machinery up to 50 CR and your turnover is up to 250 CR, so you can register for the MSME certificate that I already mentioned how you can register. You require to visit our website. So once you get this MSME certificate, you can avail our financial benefits. So for suppose if you are having, if you are granted an Indian patent, so there is a financial support or up to rupees per patent. 1 lakh is available. So you can avail 1 lakh for the Indian patent. If you are you file some international filing is done, and if you are having some kind of foreign patent, so the financial support up to rupees 5 lakh is available from Ministry of MSME side. Similarly, for the trademark, per class of the trademark, that financial support is up to 10,000 is available. And if any kind of GI, that is basically a community right. But if any community, any trust or any kind of association having GI registered, so there is a financial support of 2 lakh is available. So the next question, how these MSME units can avail these benefits. So it's completely an online process for any unit is wishing as required to avail these benefits. They can visit our MIS portal, that is my.msme.gov.in. So once they visit our portal, they can fill their application. They're required to upload 4 documents for availing this financial support. Number 1, they should have this MSME registration certificate. Second level, they should have a grant of patent, trademark or GI certificate. Third level, they should have a valid bank mandate form, because it's completely electronic process. So we directly transfer this funds, this financial support to the applicant account. So they should have a valid bank mandate form, which citing their bank details. Fourth, they require to submit their original bills, scan copy original bills. So, claiming towards the actual expenditure incurred by these MSME.
So there are well-defined processes, and they're not at all complicated, self-explanatory, and portal-based. So government is there to help you out, provided, are you ready to take that help? Are you ready to understand the importance of patenting? There is one quick question from Shivani Singh. I'm just throwing this question to all panelists. By queries, innovation in India is generally focused on IT and tech, and that too generally by IITs and IIMs. How the ecosystem can be built to nurture the design thinking in other areas than technology, and that too in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Over to panelists.
So I would like to take that, Puneet ji, and just a sec. Yeah, I believe now I'm able. So I'm juggling with a couple of things as well. I believe people might have noticed I'm switching off my video and signing off few files. Okay. So now coming to design thinking process, as in like which Shivani ji mentioned, it is all about like, the 1600 IICs which I mentioned. Our focus and target is that we have to see tier 1 cities, tier 2 cities, if you look around, or primarily they have the facilities, but students coming up from tier 3, tier 4 towns, and we focus around those cities as well so that they can be included. It's like, again, bringing from the far off the boundaries towards the inclusion so that they understand what is the process and how we can take things forward. And that's what our IICs are doing. And in a way, I thank this pandemic, because now exercises, they moved online. We are able to increase our reach exponentially, the programs and other. And during the last, I believe, 2 months, we have conducted more than 17 online sessions worth 2 hours each, targeting these design thinking and cognitive skills only, that how to ideate even, how to come up, if you have an idea, then what next? A lot of people, even I used to juggle with the very same scenario. If I have an idea, what to do next? Keep on sitting, or let the idea drain out? Or shall I go ahead and share with? No. Then what to do? So these all things we are trying to cover up and educate our youths who is poised to come up with, who are rather poised to come up with a lot of startups, I believe, in couple of years or couple of months after.
Right.
Dr. Puneet, I will like to add to what Dr. Gambhir said, that I think we are not only restricted to IT sector only. See, especially after the post-COVID, I mean, which we are finding now, I think the medical sector has picked up like anything. There is if you see, a lot of masks are coming, a lot of sanitizers are coming, a lot of designs are coming up. So this is a very typical example. And secondly, the agriculture sector, where we have to grow like anything. Then third is the electronic sector. So I mean, all sectors are open, and it is also wrong to say that all innovations are restricted or limited to only IITs. Even NIET is a good reputed college. Even our government organizations like CDAC, DRDO, they are doing wonders. So I think it is the creativity of an individual rather than a creativity of an organization. This is what I feel.
Right. And thanks so much, Dr. Ashwani, for coming up with that. I totally missed the initial part, I believe, and that was all about IT and these premier institutions and also the tech focus. But you have pointed very right. And Puneet ji, also to highlight, I have seen a trend that in our past events, which we have conducted, and even during lockdown, the top prize winners, you cannot actually categorize them as per institution or as per the cities. Even there is a prize winner which has come from a far off college, which is a very remote area, but those students, they came up with solar power driven robot cart in the medical facilities, where it can deliver touchless medicines and take care of the reports and other stuff. Generally, we don't see that. So things are coming up, as Dr. Ashwani pointed out.
Right.
And if I may add, actually, just to what Dr. Gambhir and Dr. Ashwin Kumar both said, and this is something that Dr. Ashwani Kumar Sharma actually touched on briefly at the beginning, and I wanted to bring that out a little bit more, that, you know, when we talk about protection of intellectual property, we tend to focus mostly on patents, but, you know, there is copyright, you know, there are music recordings, there are designs. I think India is a prime example of where design patents can thrive, because we have just so much innovation in design. Right. And so I think, you know, just design a vase, you know, even simple things like how you design a vase or a light bulb or lamps or lampshades or curtains, you know, all these things are protectable, and people don't often realize that. So there is a lot of intellectual property in India. And, you know, I fully agree that, you know, pharmaceuticals and IT certainly are prime examples of where India can lead, but there are many other examples like, you know, mechanical and electrical and, you know, other aspects that we don't often think about. So I think we should broaden our notion of IP and think about copyrights and designs and everything else that goes with it.
Right. So I hope this, the time is quite less to discuss such a serious topic, but still there are limitations, and I'm really grateful to Dr. Manav Das for being with us, even despite of having a different time zone and having a time there. And Dr. Ashwani Sharma ji, you are always there to help everybody, whosoever approaches you, you are quite generous to be with them and helping them. Dr. Mohit Gambhir, I'm sure the way you and your department is thriving on innovation, the journey will take India to lead in the new economic world. And Satish ji, thank you for being with us and sharing different prerogatives from government departments. And they are really useful and helpful for every individual being, whosoever is willing to take their innovations in the form of a venture, business venture. And this is all for today. And thank you all audiences and writing several questions to us. But unfortunately, due to constraint of time, we are unable to take up all the questions. But symbolically, we have taken up one of the questions. And I hope all the queries, all the questions are really useful and beneficial for your information.
Dr. Puneet, I think we must also convey sincere thanks to Dr. Sudhir Kalla, who has been in USA and I think must be around 1 a.m. late. Yeah. I think still is watching and listening and sharing his ideas on private messaging. This is very good.
So we have international viewership. We can claim that because yes, message of any good thing is going across the world. Yes. So this is all for today. Now, may I request Professor Amar Patnaik ji to make some announcement about pre-incubation program. Over to Dr. Patnaik.
Yes, again, very good morning to all. And it was an excellent discussion. So now we are announcing a pre-incubation program in MNIT, that is MNIT Innovation and Incubation Center in association with the Neos Angel Network LLP. Our main theme of this program is that whoever will, before going to start their incubation, there is some basic knowledge should be there, the incubatees, the startups, whoever is there. That's why the main program we have planned for means weekend program. It is every month, every day, every week, 2 days we will share some knowledge with our incubatees, the pre-incubatees. That is the main theme of this program. And the beneficiary is that the entrepreneurs planning to convert their ideas into profitable ventures. That is, and innovators driven to prove themselves in the business world. That is the main benefit of these beneficiaries. And the main content of this program, because it is organized every weekend program. So these are the following contents we'll cover. There is means a lot of experts we have also selected. If possible also from today, because today's also it was a huge panelist. These are all excellent. And if possible also we will communicate with your prior permissions to give some guidance to our the startups, new startups, and whoever with the new startup, they can start some basic fundamental knowledge before going to start their work. Otherwise, what n number of startups are coming, and at the end we can say that it is hardly 5 and 4 are successful. So that's why some basic knowledge should be there. So these are the following contents we have planned with the discussion with the different experts. So thank you to all. Thank you to all the panelists. Thank you to Puneet also. Namaste.
So
Thank you.
audiences are requested to be there only, because in a while we are going to start our workshop. This is from Verify Technologies, and this workshop is on IPR.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye, Manav. Take care. Bye.
May I request admin to make Jaspreet Singh ji
Yes, we
co-host.
made it. We made it. Co-host Jaspreet Singh.
Jaspreet ji, are you there?
Hello.
Yeah. Welcome to the program, Jaspreet ji, and over to you for conduction of the workshop.
Thank you, sir. So thanks MNIT for giving me an opportunity to speak on how to flourish IPR in academic research. So thanks to Dr. Mohit Gambhir, Dr. Manav and Dr. Ashwani to give us knowledge, accurate knowledge regarding how we can use or how can we protect our invention. I take some notes from Dr. Mohit Gambhir that we have boarded the last bogie of the train, that we are still working on how to protect our idea, because many of the inventions are still in the pipeline, and many of the professors or the what I can say, the assistant professors or the faculty members still have lacking some knowledge about the IPR. So how to protect, what to protect, and when to protect. So today I will be discussing on how we can, what is the basic need for commercialization, and how the universities or colleges can help their faculty members or students to come up with an idea and the commercialization part, or I can say that monetization part. So let's start. So everyone knows about IPR, intellectual property rights. I think in the previous panel discussion also, they have mentioned about what is IPR. Basically a kind of rights or intangible rights that are given to the inventor or the applicant in terms of patent, designs, and trade secrets, trademarks, and copyright, geographical indications. All these types of IPR have their own weightage. Patents is for basically technical and non-technical inventions. Design is basically for the overall structure of a product. Trade secrets is basically if you are going for some your machine or a process, you don't want to disclose that, so you can go for a trade secrets. When you're going to have your startup, you can file for trademarks. You are going for research paper, you can go for copyrights also. So each and every IP has their own weightage. So not to waste time, and let's discuss what is invention and how what is the difference between invention and innovation. Basically, invention is defined as a original concept. Invention is basically the creation of a product or introduction of a process for the first time. So, and what do you mean by innovation? Innovation, on the other hand, occurs if someone improves or makes a contribution to an existing product. So I take example that cycle was invented way back in 1870, and that was the invention by drawers. And after that, many innovative ideas regarding the bicycle were there. I take some example of hybrid bicycles, electronic bicycle. These are this is kind of one example. Another example I take is a microprocessor. So microprocessor was an invention. So the microprocessor is nothing, is a kind of chip on the circuit board. So the thousands of products or processors or services that are involved from the invention of microprocessor, that is known as innovation. So many products are based on microprocessor. So that microprocessor was basically an invention, and the applications of the microprocessor is a kind of innovation. Another example I take of iPods. iPods was basically launched by Steve Jobs. So what iPod consists of is having portable music player, having multiple recordings. So earlier portable music player was there. I can tell you Walkman was there, and for having multiple recordings or multiple songs, we were using MP3. So what Steve Jobs done, what innovative he has done, that he comes up with an idea for combining these two, combining the music, portable music player, having multiple songs. So that was an innovation. The invention was so that was a kind of innovation. So there is a difference between innovation and invention. So what is the basic source of innovation? It can be from customers or the suppliers, from universities, government, any student, any research paper, any consultant, from anywhere you can have the idea, a basic idea, any technology, any literature paper, any newspaper. So source of idea can be anything. It can be any of your neighbor also. So while going for what we can innovate from the invention. So how we can think of that this is I'm coming up with a product that is a kind of innovation for me. So how come I got an idea? So many multiple sources are there. Market research can be there, publications can be there, and staff of my co-workers can give me a kind of idea of basic thing that is to be invented. So what is the basic need, or what we say that innovation, what type of innovation can be there? It can be a product innovation also, process innovation also, and organizational innovation also. So when we say about product innovation, it basically changes in the design of the product or the use of the new materials or the components. Basically, that is being done for cost cutting or having some new inventions. And apart from that, a process innovation is basically improved production or delivery method. This include techniques or equipment or softwares. So many type of innovations are there that is being created and commercialized. So source of innovation can be anything, and type of innovation can be anything. So how to commercialize it, how we can use it, that we'll be discussing in this lecture. What is the basic role of innovation? Why we need some innovation or invention or new concept or new technology or new product? Basically, it improves the economic growth of the country, economic growth of the university or the research scholar or the colleges. Developing countries improve their economic background. They provide a commercialization aspect. They provide you a monetization aspect. So many roles, many things are associated with the inventions or the innovation. So we can have the many systems are available in the country, from where we can have some innovation. Universities are there, research papers are there, research universities are there, government sectors is there, private MNCs are there, individual resources are there. From these are basic the we say national innovation system of our country, from where we can have some inventions or innovations or new concepts or new techniques to protect it and to commercialize it or to monetize it. So what will be the working with the industry association? Means you are developing a product or a process or a new invention. So how it will be working? You will be working with the industries, top MNC, you will work with the government industries also. You can work with the research scholars also. So it will provide a competitive factor for your product, or kind of sharing your knowledge with the other members of the industry or the universities, faculty members also. So industry association can be with the big MNCs or other universities or consultancies groups. So working with many other MNCs. So how some examples of innovations in India, that is hepatitis B vaccine, that is costing quite less than in US or other countries. Similarly, skin treatment disease costing around $100, and whereas in the US it costs $20,000. Similarly, an artificial foot that is called Jaipur foot, which was invented in 1968 in Jaipur. So it cost $33 in India, and whereas in other countries it cost $10,000. I take another example of a simple nano car, which was costing around for us near about 2 lakhs, or I can say $2,000, less than $2,000. And if I take example of any other country or developed country, it costs more than that. So this is the beneficiary or the benefits that we get for inventing or innovating in India or in your native country. So I told you about the innovative examples of India. So why we need that? What is the need of developing that? The cost is the first factor that is associated with it. Secondly, is it reducing any manual or any effort or the time associated with the process? So I take some examples that I mentioned about Jaipur foot. Jaipur foot was invented by Dr. Pramod Sethi in 1968, along with the craftsman Mr. Ramchandra Sharma. So in 1968, Dr. Pramod Sethi of Jaipur, of Swan Singh, college name is I think Swan Mansingh Medical College of Jaipur. He was working with that college of Swan Mansingh Medical College. So in 1968, he invented that prosthetic leg of polyurethane prosthetic leg. So in 1968, he developed that. So at that time, what was the need of that? To reduce the cost, to help the poor or the ones who can't pay that much amount for their surgeries or for having the artificial leg. So that was the point. Another example is quite known to everyone, that is pedal powered washing machine. So pedal powered washing machine was again invented in India in 2009 or 2010 by a girl named as Ramya Jose. So again, it was an innovative concept. So these are some innovative examples or a concept that were being invented or launched by the some Indian residents or the any faculty members or the research scholars. So most of the development is quite known to everyone. So developing new technologies is not a new concept, but how to innovate it, how to get a novel concept of it is the major factor. How we can come up with a new concept, how we can come up with a new invention, how we can come up with a new process that reduces human effort or that reduces some effort. I take example, I'm coming up with a I'm coming up with a dyeing system that used to work on 100 degrees Celsius. Now I'm coming up with a dyeing system that will be working on 50 degrees Celsius. So why we need a IP? How IP is a big money? How what role does IP play in your commercialization aspect or your revenue aspect or your that monetization? If you can see that Apple, Microsoft, and RIM paid around $4.5 million to Norton Networks for their around 17,000 patents. Everyone knows about a dispute between Samsung and Apple. Samsung paid around $934 million to Samsung for using their IP. Nokia was bankrupt in 2012. So what Nokia does is giving access to their patent portfolio to lift itself from the damages or the bankruptcy that has been caused. Many companies like Google, Facebook, Ola, Swiggy, Zomato, Uber, many companies are there, quite known, well-known companies are there having big patent portfolios, and they are basically using their portfolios to monetize each and every product or monetize each and every service. You can take example of Zomato. The basic, what the Zomato is doing is picking something from one point and delivering it to the other point. A basic concept. What Ola, Uber is doing. I take example of Google. I take an example of Sony. Sony coming up with a single glass desktop. So many IP transactions were there in the year 2011-2012, around $18 billion. Nokia, Motorola, Sony Ericsson having patent on wireless technology from period of 1985, and they are using their IP portfolio, patent portfolio, and monetizing it and commercializing it and giving license to other companies and enjoying the royalties from that. So IP plays a major role in your product development, or I can say that your protected invention. A person from Mumbai, Shantanu Naidu, invented a product of LED pet collars. Ratan Tata funded him for 14 millions. So his IP was protected. That's why Ratan Tata funded his concept. So many other examples are there regarding the why IP is a big money. I take another example. There is a war going on between Core Photonics and Apple. Core Photonics says that that they have narrated their invention of a dual lens or dual camera to Apple way back in 2013. And Apple launched their product of iPhone 7, 8, and X, and used their technology of dual lens camera, without taking license or without taking consent from Core Photonics. The case is still going on between Core Photonics and Apple. So if you have protected your invention, or if you have protected your concept or idea, it can play a major role for enjoying the royalties or commercialization aspect. So what is the basic checklist of doing an innovation? First, the disclosure part. The disclosure is there, the evaluation, protecting your invention, marketing your invention, negotiation between the various companies, and giving license to the other company. Disclosure is a basic document that is being provided by you. Evaluation, what is the long-term aspect of this invention or your product? Protection is filing for your invention, to protect your invention, to have a date, to have a filing date or an application date. Marketing your invention, marketing your prototype, targeting the area. If I'm saying about some cosmetic product or a razor blade, you can contact PNG for that. So what is the market? What is the future ahead of your invention? Negotiations between the company, between the inventor and the company, and giving license to the company for a certain period of time, or you have sold out your invention, or you have commercialized your invention, or you have given license to them. So this is the basic process of innovation. So how you can commercialize your innovation, how you can protect your innovation. What are the reasons to innovate? First and foremost is competition. To keeping you ahead of your competitors. Second is science and technology. To have an update knowledge of whatever technologies are being used in recent times. Market. How your product or your invention is already responding to the customers. What is the feedback from the customer? How, what reviews are there regarding your product or your invention? Many economic policies or government policies associated with your invention or protected invention. Second, the last most, if the curiosity in you that if I invent this, what will happen? How will the audience will react? How will the consumer will react? how much I can achieve, how can I earn from this, what is the novel, this is the novel concept of my invention, this is how I'm reducing the human effort, or this is my technical specification. So how the audience will react to it, or they will like it or not, they will commercialize it or not. So these are the reasons to innovate. So there is a concept called the valley of death. What do you mean by the valley of death? The valley of death is the progression of your invention, which start from basic research that is done by the universities or the research scholars or the students or the college. Second is early feasibility studies, whether your product is feasible or not. Technical validation of prototype, converting your invention into a prototype, validating your product, marketing testing is there. And last is product development and marketing. In this graph, government only pays for the first part, that is the basic research. Government only pays for the stuff on the left and the left side. And large companies or the MNCs provide funding for the right part, that is product development. So the value of that, or I can say the ingredients or the main part of that feasibility, technical validation, or the early market testing, this the funds associated with this is to be cured by, or is to be handled by the universities or the research scholars or some individuals. So due to this, the lack of funding, the lack of knowledge, or the lack of interest, many of the research scholars or the faculty members try avoid going for patent or avoid protecting their invention because it's as Mr. Ashwani said in a lecture, it's a costly affair. Everyone needs a backup for it. Everyone needs a fund for developing his invention or developing his prototype. So during this, the development phase, only at the last stage, MNCs provide you funding, or at the early stage, government provides you funding. Apart from that, the middle section is totally handled by the universities or the colleges. Another graph. After your invention gets submitted, gets granted, it takes an average of 3 years to cover market of 50%. Means in India, it takes around 3 to 4 years to cover market of 50 to 60%. So, and for covering rest of the percentage, or I say, or covering other 50%, it takes around 10 years. So almost 10 to 15 years for your invention to get commercialized in India. So what universities or colleges can do? Universities can have a tie-up with big MNCs or small companies to provide services at much cheaper rates than the other companies, or provide a consultancy, provide professors for their product development, or develop a new joint technology to have a to have a collaboration with the MNCs to develop or to innovate or to come up with a new technology or a product or a process for their colleges. How to link organizations to the industry? First is give professors a time to work in a MNC or any well-known companies to have a better grip of the innovations or the concepts of the real-time innovations or real-time technologies, to have a tie-up with the research units to have a tie-up of research unit with the MNCs to gather the funds from them. Universities can create in-house incubation centers, in-house cells to create or develop or to innovate new products or process for the universities that can help in getting the commercialized value. So, what is the basic areas that needs to be strengthened for innovation? Enhancing the capacity to use available technologies. Whatever you have, whatever you know, use these technologies and develop a product. Giving incentives to the research scholars, encouraging with a monetization value, encouraging the students to come up with a system, to come up with a invention or an idea, and paying a kind of incentives or stipend to the college research scholars or students to develop something new and something innovative. Again, same concept, providing incentives to the students or the colleges. What we can have from this? We can have new ideas, we can have some prototyping facilities also, we can have, students can have marketing experience also, new devices or new results can, new invention, new innovation can also be there. So it will help professors or students to work with the well-known companies or with the industries to come up with a system or to come up with an invention to help the universities in a long term to develop a product or a process for a long, keeping a long-term goal to monetize or to get fundings from big companies or from the government sector. What is the path for technology transfer to monetize it? First is government provides funding to the universities or the research scholars or the colleges. And before that, the invention is protected and a prototype is generated. And after all R&D, final product is generated. After that, as it is being protected by patents or design or any trade secrets, so that product have an exclusive right or that can be sold or licensed or commercialized with many companies or with the government sector also. So it provides an upper hand for having funding from any colleges or companies. Private companies provide R&D facilities to the universities. many products or small companies are being acquired by big companies. I have given you an example of the pet saw, the LED pet collar. This company is taken by Tata. So many small ventures or small startups are being covered or acquired by the big companies. You can have funding from the big companies, or to have intercompany technology transfer, intercompany knowledge transfer, so that you can come up with a system. Benefits of innovations: competitive advantage, increased market share, and higher growth rates. So, everyone knows what is competitive advantage: increased market share and higher growth rate. If I say higher growth rate, it means that you will be getting fundings from the companies, big companies, and that funding will be shared among the research scholars or the students, and the money that money is shared between the scholars or the faculty members, and also that money is being used for further research or innovation in the college. So that provides a kind of economic or the monetary benefit to the college. So what is the basic mission of the, what should be the basic mission of the college? To take the innovation seriously and to train your university or college to flourish their research or academic work, to get into the world and enjoy the benefit of monetization or commercialization, to have a fair economic return to the university, so that university can further support research work. From that, the university will be getting a hefty amount from the maybe government or any other ex party, and that amount can be used further used for research. So why you need some collaborations with the MNCs of the government sector? To share risk, to share the cost, to share the damages, to share the R&D cost, to gain additional market advantage. If I come up with a shoe, come up with a some XYZ product, a shoe wear, a footwear, coming up with a footwear that provides comfortness to me. So I team up with Adidas to provide me funding or to collaborate with me and to launch my product. So Adidas is quite known to the world, quite known to the Indian audience or consumer. So it will help my invention or my product to get an additional benefit, because a product that is already known, a company that is already known, and coming up with a system with launching some other product or invention using Adidas name, so it will provide an additional monetary benefit to me to speed up the product development. As universities or the colleges lack some manufacturing part, so teaming up with a big company provides you a speedy recovery, a speedy growth for your invention or your product. Example of Apple collaborated with Nike way back in 2008-2009. So both of them were using their technologies. So it was kind of cross licensing. So collaboration with the companies, agreement for organization to work together, to have alliances, to have a better network with the audience or the various other companies. These arrangements can be with the suppliers or the consumers or the competitors. Alliance, I already told you that a bigger name or brand name will provide an additional benefit to your product or your invention or the college or the university. Another part is a technical partnership. That is another part of collaboration, that two companies are being team up or having a collaboration to use each and other technologies in their product. Or I'm saying that we have team up with MNIT. So MNIT will be working on one aspect of the invention, one aspect of the product, and Verispire, IP Period Labs, or any other XYZ company will be working on the second aspect of the product or the invention. So technical partnership is that 50% of the work will be done by one company, and 50% or the remaining work will be done by the other company. So why it is being done? That to speed up the manufacturing process, to get the best technology from the other part of the nation or the some quite known brands, and to gain additional market, because both of the companies that are collaborating have different markets. So the reach, the consumer reach will be a better than the normal in a normal circumstances. Another is determining the value of your assets. The value of your product, or I can say evaluate your product. How much composition you are entitled for. This can be depend upon the long-term goals or the short-term goals, or how much your product is novel and whether it is protected or not, or do you have any rights associated with that, or any other with any other team, any other companies you have signed a license agreement about. Enjoy the royalties from the licensee, and enjoy the market coverage while teaming up. So, and enjoy the compensation provided to you for your product. So multiple factors are there for determining the value of your invention. So when we say royalties is basically the benefit that you get while licensing or commercialization. First is the getting the royalties from the profit, or royalties from the net sales, or getting royalties from the license that you have given to any company, or any lump sum amount or fixed amount that you have decided to team up or to give license to a company for a period of 1 year, or a period of 6 months, or a period of 2 years. So you can enjoy the royalties while teaming up with the other companies. Another is variable effective royalties. That is basic depend upon the enforceability of your product or your invention, the terms of license. License can be you are using 10% of the invention, or using 20% of the invention. You are using the depending upon the profit, as profit is variable. So compensation depending upon the profit that you are getting, or the how much technology, for how long you will be using that technology, or for how long you will be teaming up with other systems. So these are the types of royalties that that you can enjoy from commercialization or monetization aspect. What are the challenges that are being faced by the universities in IP? So first, as Mohit, Dr. Mohit Gambhir told us that we are on the last bogie of the train, but I take a note from that we are still on the last bogie of the train, because as many universities or colleges lack knowledge of IP. IP, it's not only about patents only, it can be copyrights also. It has related copyrights, trademarks, trade secrets. As Ashwin sir told us that many of individual inventors or companies go for trade secret rather than patents due to the cost associated with the patent. So there is a lack of knowledge. Lack of knowledge is what that is what we can protect, how we can protect, and when we can protect. So when we say as Mr. Dr. Dev told us that, Dr. Manav told us that we can file for anything. We can file for multiple applications. Suppose many universities, colleges file multiple applications, 1,000 applications per year, but out of which the grant rate is 2%. And out of 2%, only one patent out of which goes for commercialization. So no, we can file for anything. We can file for anything. As COVID is going on, many companies come up with sanitizers and masks and sanitizing products or machines. But if you can see that before that, till January 2020, or I say December 2019, no one was using that face mask, because face mask was invented in 1915 or 1910. Till 2000 December, 5% of the population, overall population, was using masks. I take example of sanitizers. Sanitizers are there from 1960. No one was manufacturing sanitizer. No one was coming up with different type of sanitizers or PPE kits. They are known for quite long, but no one was using it because due to their short-term goals. As how much everyone is now coming up with, every college, every university, every individual coming up with invention that is related to some sanitizers or PPE kits or sanitizing machines or products, sanitizing that sanitized body or footwear. But that is a short-term goal. If you see ahead, maybe after 2 years or 3 years, no one will be using it. So what is the long-term goal? You can file for this, you will be getting a patent for this, that's for sure. But what is their long-term goal? What is the commercialization aspect of that invention that is being protected? So this is a kind of knowledge that we don't get from basic studies or academic research. So when we can file for our invention, how we can file for invention, what is the novel part in invention? Lack of general knowledge among procedures. Many universities and colleges don't know the procedure. For everyone, getting a patent or filing for a patent is a huge task. But as Dr. Manav told us that you need a patent attorney for that. A patent attorney or patent agent will be covering all the questions and all the procedures. You just need an idea related to your invention, idea related to your concept. The IP attorney, or the patent agent or any trademark agent will be taking all the burden of your invention. When to file, how to draft, what illustration needs to be done, what coverage needs to be done. All the part will be taken care by your IP agent or IP attorney. Difficult to identify the rights. Difficult to identify the right consultant and experts. Normally, generally, before pandemic, we used to travel colleges and provide a basic lecture on IP or patents or copyright and trademark. And you won't believe that 90% of the staff doesn't know about IP. They heard these terms, patent, copyrights, and trademarks, but how to use it, when to use it, they don't know that. They don't know how much they have in it, in them, because faculty members and research scholars are the ones who are dealing with the academic part on daily basis or the research part daily basis, but they don't know how to protect it. As Dr. Ashwin told us that they are basically interested in going for research papers. But rather than research paper, why don't we go for patent application, filing of a patent? Because file a patent, a provisional application or a complete application, and protect your invention, and maybe you can enjoy the royalties or monetization value. Hard to justify the initial large expenses resulting from IP. Satish sir was there, was told us about the fees associated with the filing of IP. 80% discount is being there for each and every one. Only 1,600 for filing a patent application. So, and apart from that, regarding expenses, many of your colleges are giving you that monetary benefit that you come up with an idea, we will we will take care of all the expenses from filing to grant. So colleges and universities are taking care of that. No resources to proactively protect IP. Already told you that lack of knowledge is there. No one wants to protect their invention. No one wants to have to go for patent filing or any other IP filing. So in India, there is a common track that Dr. Mohit Gambhir told us that everyone, as COVID is going on, everyone is making sanitizing products. Everyone is coming up with a sanitizer, and everyone is coming with face masks or PPE kits. I take one more example. I take example of 2010. At that time, everyone was going towards a programming language. Everyone was interested in Java or C++, C. I take example of today's world that everyone is going towards artificial intelligence. So, what is your long-term goal? First, protect your invention, then evaluate your invention, whether it is a short-term goal or a long-term goal. You can file for anything. In India, you can file for anything and it will get published. But what is your long-term goal? Only you have to file for it, and for your resume or for getting a better job, or to enjoy the royalties from your protected invention. That is up to you. So that is it for now from my side. Any questions from your side, or any queries regarding IP or patents or anything you have, you can ask me, or we have my teammates with me on the chat. You can ping me there, or this is my mail ID or a phone number. You can contact me there. Any questions regarding that, I will be answering your questions.
Thank you very much, Jaspreet sir, for today's session. And I would also like to thank MNIT, MIIC, MNIT Jaipur, IP Curate Labs, Verispire, Jaspreet sir, Dr. Manav Das sir, Dr. Mohit Gambhir sir, Satish Kumar sir, Puneet Sharma sir for moderating the session, as well as Ashwani Kumar sir. With the end of Jaspreet sir's session today, we will be completing today's session, and we will be meeting tomorrow for two workshops, one conducted by Mr. Varun Chamadia, founder of Proactive Eye, and one conducted by IP Curate Labs Verispire. So Mr. Sandesh Agarwal, who will be speaking on the current statistics and case study on the situation of IPR in India compared to those of those outside the other countries. Thank you very much, and we will be meeting tomorrow shortly. Thank you, Jaspreet sir, once again for the wonderful session. And
Thanks, Param.
yeah, thank you, sir. I'm requesting MNIT Jaipur to end the session, sir.